Welcome to the most experimental of the podcast where we keep fucking it up. I am Audi. With us we have
Hello, I'm
Tom, and Knight.
Etc.
Maybe not.
Seeing from a few years back MRTI tried this out, I thought I'd give it a shot myself. Tail himself was on the first one, although I don't know why you didn't do any of the other ones, because they did like 5 or 6, and you didn't
They only
feature any of
invited me
those.
to like 1 to 2 of them, and I was like, oh,
really,
okay.
really rude.
That's a bit good, yeah.
So yeah, I thought I'd try it out for myself because it just seemed like a fun idea, and although I'm really, really awkward when it comes to this sort of stuff, it might be a bit of fun, and also give a chance to go back on our old races and old rivalries or whatever else that might crop up in this podcast. And nostalgia is always a fun thing to go over, so why not? So the first topic I have is the evolution of road racing. How do you feel it's changed or evolved since you began, and what do you feel has been the most important change? Now, we've done this a few times, so maybe we can get some more comprehensive answers.
Right. So, I see that road racing has changed for the better as the years have went on, because back then it was all just a bunch of basic tracks, basic cars and stuff. They all looked like they were made from like 8 bricks or something, probably. And nowadays it's a lot more like organised, with the way that races are officialed and such.
I think, yeah, definitely officialing's a bit easier now that we have Adonis. I would agree with that.
Yeah. And even the tracks look smoother and all that. It's not like 45-degree angle turns and all
I
that.
was gonna get to that.
Oh, whoops.
It's fine, you can still make the point.
Yeah, obviously I started maybe 10 days off 2 years from now, so almost 2 years ago, in OHR, and well, if the track wasn't built by Wesley, it was just blocky as anything, and now compared to nowadays, tracks have improved. My favourite addition I think I made, the one I think made the most impact, probably anti-collide scripts. They allow for racing with less complaining because obviously you can't take each other out. And over time it's evolved so that it become less an issue for lag and stuff. So I think that's probably, for me, the standout.
I remember with the anti-collide scripts how they caused like this massive divide because there were people who were saying with them about, oh, it's now just time trial, you're not racing anymore, and all that. The thing is, but the anti-collide scripts, just because of the nature of Roblox's sort of sometimes very poor calculations, you end up having this, obviously the lag problem where you go through a car and suddenly it just pulls you back because you're getting this massive lag from the car. So you almost have this dirty air issue with the anti-collide, which means most cars don't have it, but there are those that do. I was never part of the it's time trial shit, but certainly there was initially a big resistance to any leagues using it.
Would you rather be bombed off by an idiotic backmarker car, pass through him with little to no lag?
I mean, it depends on who I'm racing. Really.
Yeah.
If it's an idiot, then obviously I would rather the anti-collide. But if you could,
Well, it was just like a good quality control measure, really, that you could put into the more than anything.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're done with Night. Moving on then, Tom. Evolution.
No, I don't have too many opinions because I haven't been too involved in the community.
Okay, I guess.
Well,
I guess I'll speak for me and you then, or.
Yeah, sure. Because you've been most of the same things.
Yeah. So for me, obviously having been at the centre of the community for the past 2.5, 3 years. So road racing started out as a very simple thing when I started because it was recovering from the whole physics death and 3/4 of the original community leaving, which left obviously a massive gap to fill, and luckily enough there was a massive interest as well in road racing when it recovered. So the 3/4 that left were replaced, but they were new, so there was no knowledge. For example, RRC wasn't originally run by me, it was run by Captain Red05, and we originally had absolutely no idea what we were doing. Captain didn't have an idea what he was doing, so it was very much guessing. The cars were 3 models from memory that were just ever so slightly tweaked and whatnot. I think if we messed around with them too hard, we managed to break them. We had so little knowledge. We didn't have a timing system. We had to count laps ourselves and do things on stopwatches, which, to be fair, we do. We do still do with RRC occasionally, because timing systems still have issues and lag, and people are people. So, in that respect, you know, road racing certainly very much moved on. Everyone knows what we're doing now. The quality is up, and obviously, again, echoing what Tails said, it's all very much stepped up. With changes like the 0.2 studs down to 0.05 now, yeah. Means cars actually look a lot better. They don't look like they're from a Lego set. They actually look like moulded models. I mean, they didn't look like they were from a Lego set before, but they were certainly a hell of a lot chunkier than they are now. So, in that respect, it's changed. I think the community's evolved for the better. Obviously we don't have as many of the old community members as we did before, but we still have like some more. I think Drax from, I can't remember if Drac is from the old side of road racing or not. He either came around me or not. But we have Stig still. We had Marlowe, but then he recently retired. So in that respect, I think it's evolved from there. Anyway, we'll move on to achievements. So, biggest achievement within road racing, outside or inside of racing. We all know our answers mainly for this, so I guess add a bit more detail to them if you can.
Sorry, I missed the question there.
The achievements.
Achievements. Well, one of my greatest achievements, I would say, would be Season 1 of RRC. It's probably the most dominant I've ever been in a season, to be honest. Like, never finishing below P2 was something special.
Do you think you could have won any more races that season? Seeing as you wanted to.
I like to think that the chance was there, definitely, but it was still a solid finish. Like, you can't argue with 5 P2s.
Yeah.
You know?
As I've only been in here for 2 years, well, it would seem that I don't have many good flashpoints, but I feel there are a lot. But the standout one would be RRC Season 4, when I won the championship. I guess I was 16 points behind after 3 rounds, demotivated, teammate total opposite. But yeah, just to see the motivation from everyone, then that motivated me. And I think that was probably as much of a mental recovery as it was on track recovery. So that would definitely be my highlight.
Yeah, it certainly flipped a lot in that season.
Oh dear, don't remind me of Monaco.
It went from you thinking, oh, the season's over, to then more like going, oh, the season's over.
Stuck on the barrier for 50 seconds at Monaco. Help.
I
managed to come from, like, I was in the lap, and I recovered to 2 seconds off points.
How do you even get in the barrier? Because wasn't that after you had added all the like invisible walls and shit across?
Wait, what barrier did he get over?
I don't know, but he said he got stuck in a wall at Monaco.
Oh,
I seem to remember
Monaco
you put like really high invisible stuff.
There were, but it was a really strange incident. I don't think Turn 1
I've seen cars go straight through walls before.
Turn 1 didn't have all the walls.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And what happened was Tonight got pushed up the wall. And then flopped on
and
it.
just sat on top of it, yeah.
And I had to... Luckily, Beatles wasn't local at the time, so I had to move the brick and get him unstuck.
Yeah.
He was like something really, really far down. I don't think really Monaco was at all representative of that season, to be honest, because
it's Monaco.
It's Monaco, but
Yeah.
also, like, I mean, you know, you had Morja obviously won it, so that was representative, but you also had like Lego coming second, and that was his only points of the season. The car wasn't competitive for any points any other time. So that was a bit of a...
It's an anomaly, yeah.
Yeah, it was. So, moving
I
on.
haven't answered yet.
Yeah, I know.
Can.
Moving on to you.
Alright, I've been around since RRC Season 0, where Captain Red was running it. And I beat Chris in that championship, so I'm pretty happy about that. Obviously, I've never beaten him since anything else, in road racing at least. I do a lot more sim racing than road racing, so yeah, I haven't really focused on it. Probably RRC Season 0 is my best achievement.
Right.
Although it's not really representative, but yeah.
Yeah, obviously,
Good, yes.
in our fucked up version, you also mentioned Japan, which was a good race.
Yeah.
I would say Brazil was a really good race for you. I know you messed up, and you probably
I was pretty annoyed after Brazil,
potentially
but
should have won, but it was still a good race for you, you know.
it was a good race. I
Good
just,
race overall.
last lap, have a fucking issue where my hand slips off the keyboard and I lose it.
My biggest achievement
No.
is my league. Easily. I didn't think of it initially in the original version that we did here, but yeah, you know, it's got to, I think the group has 200 members. It fluctuates above and below. We've run 7 seasons. We're running an 8th. We've been around for 2 years. It's been a very positive experience, but racing wise, Fox Season 1 or my original championship. Fox because it was in the middle of my domination. It was the longest domination in a league at the time, and it was just a great season for me. But obviously your first championship is always a milestone, so it can never be discounted, even if it isn't particularly impressive. I only won 3 races that season. My last 2 races were a DNF and a P4, but Marlowe didn't attend the second to last race of the season, so I won anyway. I won the title from a DNF. I still grumble about the person who put me up that wall. I went up the wall and hit the catch fence and died.
Was that collide? No, not quite. Fucking crash fall.
It was a crash fall. That's why I went
That's
up. That's IRL, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I DNF'd, because I got pushed up a wall. Nothing was done, but yeah, there was no... I don't even know if there was any spotting. The guy just dived up the inside of me and just yeeted me up the wall, and I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Luckily, Marlowe's not here, or I might not have won the championship. The last race of the season, I had a massive slowdown lag and could only fight for 4th, unfortunately. Which was a shame, but I'd already won the title, so I didn't really care too much. Wasn't the most impressive of my titles, but certainly the first is always a good one. The future of row racing. Where do you see row racing going in the future, and where do you want it to see? I guess we'll make it a 2-parter.
Well, oh, sorry.
Where do you realistically see it, and where would you actually want it?
I mean, realistically, it is slowly improving over time. Like, we are getting more advanced as it goes on, and I hope it, like, furthers on down that path, and hope that, you know, one day it's one of the... I know this is exaggerating, but one of the biggest things, like, in row sports, I guess. But yeah.
I think that's a pretty interesting point, actually. I think, obviously, row football, soccer, if you're stupid, is obviously a bigger community.
Bell's triggered right now.
and baseball, but I don't really think there are many sports that are
There's not many overlaps for that.
huge compared
I've never
to...
heard of row rugby or row Hockey.
No, but then again,
Well,
they are
rugby's
smaller.
like a fucking 7 countries thing. So what do you
Yeah,
say?
I think row racing to become a bigger community than row football or row baseball would be pretty impressive, because they are pretty huge communities. Anyway, moving on. Knight.
I mean, if you want the vague answer, better, but obviously we're not here for that, so I'll elaborate. I guess, I mean, the cars are at a very good level. I mean, Pandas, or Ek, whatever you want to call him, his Renault for FS is probably the best car I've ever seen built on Roblox. And it's, for me, nearing the limit for how good cars can get. But I hope the physics will improve and that Roblox can stop adding updates which try and kill row racing, but we always find a solution around it because we are competent people. And I guess the final part is hopefully tracks and stuff can keep improving. But apart from that, just better, I guess.
All right. I guess I have my 2 cents. I personally, from an outsider's perspective, I do a lot of sim racing. I'd like to see a lot more variety in leagues because you see a lot of Formula cars and same old tracks and not much uniqueness going on, in my opinion. Sure, there's like various upgrade systems and blah 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 in different leagues, but yeah, I think it could do with a bit more variety. To be honest, that would help it going forward.
Yeah, I kind of echo that point anyway. Obviously, I don't help that by running a Formula League myself, but
so you see an awful lot of leagues that copy RRC in various ways.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm running this touring car thing. I am trying to vary it up a bit, and certainly it would be very fun to see touring car leagues crop up, GT leagues crop up. There have been some attempts to do them. Obviously, in the end, at the end of the days, really, you're still racing a similar thing. It looks
me,
different.
it's mostly tracks, to be honest, because you don't see too many outside of F1 calendars.
So I'm going to answer the question a little bit differently in the future. I'm going to answer it short term and long term. Now, short term, obviously we have HRO coming back. We have maybe Knights League if he decides to stop being depressed about it. We have Tails Super Formula League. We have potentially a league from Lewis, but he's sort of on the fence. So we do have leagues building up again, and we have some lower end leagues as well coming up. So although not high quality, it's we are seeing them. So short-term row racing is building, but I think we're always going to get this fluctuation pattern of where it has highs and then it gets a bit quiet again, and it gets highs and then it gets quiet again. And there might be a period where it stabilizes and stays at a good level for a while. So there is that, but I think long term we'll continue seeing the patterns we do. I don't think those will really change. The community will change, people will drop in, people drop out. Obviously recently we've had the likes of Bloxy, the likes of Mythic all joining in, F Josh a little bit before that. Plenty of new guys have joined him recently, which is fantastic.
F Josh has been,
we've seen Captain coming back into the community, so older guys are coming back and then newer guys are coming in, so the community is still building up, which is great. The one thing I said last year, I think about in the middle of the year, is row racing's going to struggle if we don't get new people coming in soon. But we've had that now, so it's a lot better. Row racing's looking a lot better than it was.
F Josh has been he's improved quite drastically since he first came in, and
a lot of people have, obviously.
Bloxy as well, for example.
Jack not long ago was a middle of the field driver, and now he's at the
biggest
top.
hero I've ever seen.
Right, next up, getting some more interesting ones in. Junior leagues in row racing. Good thing, or too much of a gimmick that non-junior drivers, junior air quotes, obviously, not necessarily new,
Depends on what group
but
you're
improving
talking about.
drivers they're participating in. So what is your take on the junior leagues that have been, in general?
Well, I'm a fan for the junior leagues, as it can help some drivers get to grips with like more of the basic stuff before they move up to the higher up leagues and, you know, partake in those. But I think you understand where I'm going with that, but I can't quite get the words.
I'm with Taylor.
I think it just depends entirely on what group you're talking about, because it's like breadth of field, really.
Yeah, I'm with Taylor on this. I think junior leagues, as much as they can be disorganized and stuff, it teaches other people how to run leagues, because you can only learn so much from watching other people. But I think also junior leagues, they should be supported by bigger leagues. For example, Audi sometimes gives support to smaller leagues, helps them grow. And I think that will only help, because smaller leagues tend to attract newer drivers, because they tend to be less competitive than leagues like this one. And then eventually those guys will improve, and they can then make the step up. So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts.
So that is very much the case. I think it's a stepping stone for the worst drivers or the new drivers is good. I don't know if Tom, you've quite made your point yet.
I don't know personally. I personally think that having a more wider amount of leagues would be a better idea than having a junior league within another league, like as in OHR2, OHR. Because that means that the owner of the league can focus solely on developing the junior club that they've got, instead of splitting their attention between the two, because they often get neglected after a while. So,
I think,
and that doesn't really do it justice.
With junior leagues, for me, I always feel that obviously you can't restrict it to just people with a certain amount of experience, because, put simply, then you wouldn't have a league. There wouldn't be enough to go around. However, I often find, and I think it's a problem in a lot of junior quote-unquote leagues, it's difficult given them purely the junior brand, because the drivers in them aren't generally junior, they're just terrible. Also, I guess I need to turn that up a bit more. There we go.
Yeah, my input volume is on full. Just
it's fine. I'll keep adjusting. I'll keep adjusting volumes as we go. This is just an experiment after all. Anyway, yeah, going on that, a lot of them they're generally okay, but you always have the few drivers in there who probably shouldn't. OHR2 had Lego, and occasionally, and Phil probably shouldn't have been in there as well. He didn't do many races, and like people like Sergey as well was in there. Yeah,
I would say though, another reason sorry to cut in there, but anti-collide scripts, I think that's another reason they're good, because in junior leagues it's not just having good drivers that shouldn't be there, it's drivers who are not, they're like the bottom of the pack, and then
it's just such a massive
terrible. And I think if it's collide scripts,
a massive gap in drivers still.
Just to go back onto anti-collide, so yeah.
Yeah, and then we go to obviously, and I've been seeing people mentioning this in the Discord channel about RGC. That was better. No, it did have people like Zayden in it, which confused me, because Zayden's definitely not a bad driver, nor is he a new one. So you do get this problem of people driving a junior leagues for the sake of it, rather than driving in it to actually driving what the purpose of a junior league is. Well, it's not just Lego
no, but Lego is especially common.
Yeah. So it sort of defeats the point of a junior league, because it doesn't give them a chance. So yeah, I think they're a good thing, but they certainly need more tweaks.
They need more regulation.
Yeah, which generally they haven't had. I think if you're not going to regulate them, if you're just going to make them like a slower league for different like type of people, you should just name them something else than targeting them as a junior entry league. I think moving on now. What I guess a more typical question: hardest rival in racing. Doesn't have to necessarily be for a championship, but the person that you've always, you'll always think back to.
Here we go.
Yours might surprise. This might be a little bit of.
The answer might surprise you. Right.
I've got two, if that's okay.
That's fine.
One from RRC and one from Mazda Road to Indy. Mazda Road to Indy. My biggest rival was El Frogo, or James Babcock, as you might know him. Me and him just kept fighting over championships each season, so we were like Hamilton and Vettel, I guess.
When you don't say, so you just repeat what you
say that.
And then
it's IndyCar time.
Shut
He just chucks him completely off.
Shut up.
You helped a lot, Tom.
Right, what I was saying. Right. In RRC, my main rival, although he's gone now, thank God. I shouldn't say that. Is Marvel. Just always trying to, I guess there was some jealousy in me. During
always existing, I guess.
And it didn't help that he was quite egotistical, reminded me of a certain Eden Laurent, but yeah. So that's my two picks, I'd say, for now. It might change in the future. I might have a future rival.
Well, I could say I could probably pick about 20, but for the sake of this and everyone's attention spans, I'll narrow it down to two. The first one was a league that I think a lot of people have forgotten about, F1 RL Season 5, same season in which the league shut down. I was teammates with Audi, so immediately I'm in for a tough time, and I distinctly remember the first race of the season at France. We exchanged the lead and this was Collide Cars as well. We exchanged the lead every 3 corners or something, and then I was gonna win, but then I bottled it with 3 corners left.
So you weren't gonna win.
Excellent.
And I would say the second rival, again going back to season Morjat, because he started so strongly, and I mean, fair play to him. He didn't give up at all, and I mean, I had to fight so hard to beat him again mentally and on track, and I managed to pull it off, so that was nice. So one victorious rival battle and one failed one, I guess. Although I did take my first ever win with Audi as a teammate, so I guess I can call that an achievement as well.
I don't really know. I haven't been in enough leagues really to say anything.
I guess you could say biggest rival is probably me, because put simply, we race each other in pretty much every league we go in, and whenever we race each other, we always put each other as the benchmarks, really.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily an aggressive rivalry or anything.
I wouldn't really call it a rivalry. It's just like a competitive friendship, really.
Yeah, but isn't that a rivalry?
In a way, yeah.
Right. So I've got two. The first one is with Panda. It was when we both joined Row Racing. We haven't always been amazing friends. We were initially we were okay, but it took a while to get to being really good friends. But initially, we were really against each other. OHR Season 5 was certainly a big turning point. Obviously, he beat me in the title, and the whole season we were just exchanging between each other, and because we were in the same team, I think it kind of did get a little bit dicey at times. You know, we were always decent with each other, and obviously after I can't remember when it was, whether it was during season 5 or after season 5, we became really good mates, obviously. But certainly things could get very, very on edge between us. I think Silverstone round 1, I think that was. I think Panda wasn't particularly happy about the race afterwards, and things got a little heated. Season 5 itself wasn't the greatest of seasons. There were a hell of a lot of problems with tyre wear and shit. And the season in general was just pretty poor. I mean, it was ended early for a reason. But my second, and obviously we've been close all the way through our career whenever he has been racing. Obviously, he stopped like full-time racing, if you will, pretty early on. But when he was, we were always very close. My second one is an odd one, actually, and it's a more recent one. Because obviously I don't encounter myself having rivalries, so to say. Also, we have lost Knight.
We've lost Knight.
It might just be us
May
three.
he rest in peace.
Just us three for the rest of it. I would actually say Lego in IRL. This season has been a very, very tough season for me. Because of the fact that I did miss a race. So that's obviously 25 points already gone. But Lego is very, very determined with his practice, with how he races. He makes a lot.
But he's so
He makes a lot of errors, which means
a lot of
you know
error.
you can find advantages around him. But yeah, he's a tough driver once if he finds pace at a circuit. And he's one of the I haven't been this challenged in a while, so I guess missing that race was, I guess, a good thing for the title, and it's made it interesting. And certainly it's pushed me to try and change my sort of how I'm approaching the championship a bit as well. Not how I approach racing in general, but just how I approach racing in general. So those are my rivals. Let's now go on to driver relations. First of all, who is the driver you've had the worst relationship with across a season or across a few seasons? I think I can predict yours, Tail, but let's go. Obviously,
Go ahead.
We want your answer, Marlo.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you
MRTI.
might have a couple of others as well. So
Marlow and
Eden Bryant.
yeah, that's the two.
Oh yeah.
Like everyone else, I've been kind of chill with, to be honest. Even Lego
Well, it's like-
at times.
Both Marlo and Eden are like the same sort of really aggressive personality, you know.
I would say more Eden than Marlo, because Marlo only became toxic.
Marlo's, well, I don't know, Marlo was like less of a dickhead about it, but he was always overbearing.
I honestly have no idea. I don't think I've ever got on terribly with a driver. I must have done it, but I just can't remember it. So maybe in a few minutes I'll have an answer.
I guess you probably haven't really had anything, Tom.
Apart from a couple of retarded crap markers,
Don't get me started, but I don't see that as a reason to hate them.
probably Bing Bong and Antoine for being annoying.
Antoine, it's always been, for me, I've never had an incident, or one incident at Phoenix which I got pissed about, but apart from that,
In a way, like, this is going to be weird, but Phantom is annoying to me sometimes.
no, David, you
He's a
actually...
good lad, he's a great friend, but we get on each other's nerves sometimes.
I think for me, it's a hard one because I haven't actually found myself at odds with many drivers, but I guess looking back to F1 RL against Scouser, well, lapping him was a terrifying experience. You don't know if he would actually just launch himself into that outside wall and then bounce back and put you over the wall, which he did in a race.
Do you remember? That's how I got my foot. It happened twice.
That's how you won a race, yes.
Yeah, and it happened at a race before, and it was always when I was just behind you, and he'd just do something stupid, and I would go through.
Yeah.
On the topic of Blackmore, just a little story. Marlowe, being Marlowe, decided because it was the final lap, he wasn't going to blue for the race leader. And going into the final chicane, my nose was about halfway, like half a car length behind from me.
Weren't you leading by an absolute mile though in that race?
No, I wasn't. I was leading by about 5 seconds. So if you bombed me off, you put it on the take.
If he bombed you off, you just drive backwards over the line.
Yeah, but anyway, and Marlowe pretty much ignored my existence and turned straight in, and I had to apply full brakes. Just missed his rear tyre and went on to win.
It's pull it Lego and lock up all the wheels.
I locked up, but I still made the corner because I've never pressed the S key so hard in my life.
I think Scouse is the only person I've really had consistent problems with in racing. So surprisingly enough, despite having done potentially the most races of all of us in racing, I have the least number of people at odds at, which I guess is a good thing. Now, the opposite of that question: who's the person you found yourself closest to in a season?
As in,
I know my answer.
So by closest, you mean someone that you've liked?
Someone you've really liked being in the season with, or being your teammate.
I think everyone.
I don't think it would be entirely going to give the same answer.
That's really
I have
tough.
an answer already. No doubt about it for me. Audi, you're second. I'm sorry.
Fuck you.
I'm
joking.
There's one guy who tops it, and that's my fellow Beneluxian, which is Stig. 3 seasons. Well, it would have been 3 seasons, but then I kind of died in season 7. But almost 3 seasons together as teammates. We always respected each other to the highest degree. Team orders were a thing. We didn't mind if someone was ahead in the championship. We let each other through. Obviously not so it had the last race championship winning implications. But we still, we just had a lot of respect for each other, and it was okay if we bombed each other off. Everything was just really chill between us. So I would definitely go for Stig.
Still thinking. He's
No. I've got.
Alright.
So I'm basing this off of teammates that I've had throughout the season. Prior to season 7, I would have said Phil, but I'd have to say Sam. Honestly, it's been great being Sam's teammate, and I'm gonna be his teammate again next season. So it's something to look forward to. We always get along so well.
That's
I actually agree with you there, because in the last couple of races that I've done in IRL, Sam's been a really nice guy to race with. It's always chill. We're so close on pace as well that it's a good rivalry.
For me, I can give a lot of answers. Again, done a lot of races, had a lot of teammates. I think the first mention again, Panda. We've always got along very well. We've always worked together. Obviously, I mentioned him being a rival in season 5, but I think we've always had sort of a similar idea of what we want to achieve. So he's always been a very good teammate, and he's always, when I have him as a teammate, he always pushes me, which is what I want in a team. I don't want a teammate who will bend over. That was the thing with Polska back in HRO. Was that he was too willing at times to just pull over. He never did, but he'd always be like, "Do you want me to blue flag or not blue flag? What? Do you want me to let you through?" And I was like, "No, I want you to fight me. I haven't got you as my teammate just for you to not fight me. I want a fight with my fists in your face, but no." And honestly, Polska wasn't that all great of a teammate. I mean, obviously, Knight, you're good. But I don't really feel like it was much of a teammate relationship. We just raced each other.
Well, as well.
So
I think there's only one period when we made contact, like serious contact.
I think I'm like liking the way I'm working my WTSI teams at the moment. I really do like the fact that I've got me. I think me and Tail is always a good one that works well. Even though Tail sort of succumbs to being just a number 2.
Sit in the corner and cry.
So I'm gonna say either Panda or just me, Phantom and Tail.
Fuck you.
Well, you put me as your number 2 as well.
I'm just kidding.
So I think that'd be my. I can't really pick like a number 1 teammate other than just giving a list almost. So let's move on to the final couple of topics. Tracks. Favorite track of all time, everybody?
Jeez. On Roblox or in real life?
No, do you remember what we said at the start about the orders? Who speaks first?
Yeah, I know. This is so I can think of it.
Right. Favorite track. HMM. Singapore.
Of all time? Or a list of tracks if you can't think of one.
What's going on?
I'm just reading the general.
He's really struggling.
Yeah, I would definitely say Singapore not like
Right.
100% win rate. Yes,
I have no clue. I would probably say San Marino because I'm good there.
So
Well,
2
my first
RRC
two-
tracks, good for me.
No, but also the F1 RL track, although it was terrible, I won that.
So you like tracks because you just win. What about you, Tom?
No, but San Marino,
no
I
fucking clue.
like the way you build it. I like how it flows. Yeah, that's probably my favourite track.
Right,
Oh,
I guess
very broadly.
we'll let Tail finish giggling. Oh, that's it.
that's hurting. Oh.
Oh, fuck yeah.
We are on an interlude as we wait for Tail to come.
We interrupt this.
Technical difficulties, we'll be right back.
Tail, if you're stumbling in
This
the general,
podcast
I
is
think
brought
that
to
was
you by Seuss Hoos.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you Tail's continuous death.
Oh.
You okay now? Can I give my?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Looks like
Okay, I'm good.
my
I'm good.
I think I have a few tracks that I like, but the personal favourite is Rio. Where's his Rio? De Janeiro, not Stiggs or whoever built it. I think it was Stiggs. That was terrible. That was awful. Where's his Rio is the most fun track I've driven on Roblox, and also probably the most dominant for me. Street circuits in general and Roblox I enjoy. I had great fun at JP's Providence, and New Jersey, like Wes as well. One of my first wins in real racing was there, and it holds a special place in my heart. This might be an easier one for you, Tom, potentially, and maybe me. Worst tracks. Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to include RRC Season 0 because that was Paxton's first ever attempt at building shit, so understandable. In terms of actual tracks that will race to the league, I'm going to have to say RRC's Spain early version because there had so many bumps and issues.
I honestly,
I remember it having like several ridges in the middle of random corners. that cause issues. So
Oh,
a bit unfortunate, but yeah,
Lucas's
that's something that sticks with us now.
particularly for the time that RRC Belgium Season 1 was a bit inaccurate, to be nice. Lucas's tracks, particularly for a time when people like Ek and JP are building very nice tracks, those were pretty awful. They're getting better though, so that's good. Dana 20's tracks, one part 60-degree corners most of the time.
I mean,
Yeah.
What do you expect from an R2RA track? They are pretty awful. Tail?
What?
Did you not listen to the whole question?
No.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Worst
hey,
tracks. Yes, no.
Right.
do you remember the fucking when we met Catch? Do you remember the league that we went to?
Oh
The fucking
no!
Monaco?
Oh no! The Formula Championship Monaco. That was.
Oh, okay.
That was fucking excellent.
Okay, I'm assuming from what Phil said, this is least favourite.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like how you missed the whole question.
Shit!
I would say I didn't enjoy Monaco in RRC personally. Like, was not a big fan of it.
I was so fast
Understandable.
I got just killed. Like, I set the fastest lap by 9/10 in Season 4 and still didn't even finish in the points.
Oof.
Yeah, that's just not fair.
So,
And I'm
worst
pleased.
tracks for me. Number one, I guess nowadays, is a press track. It's a combination of corners that make no sense. There are no corners with any logic to them. They're just like, who built it? I can't remember. Rob, I think.
Rob's track, yeah.
Basically, he just sneezed, and that's a track. I always
it's
really
labelled.
struggled at Flevo, personally. There's another track I always did badly at. And then finally Silverstone on Roblox. It's just generally a poor track of mine.
Ypres is labelled as a street track, but it's the biggest power track on the calendar.
It's very much
It's a
not.
fucking Herman Tilke drone.
It's definitely not a street circuit. I don't know how you could label it as one.
Yeah, and I mean, even it's just heaven for people like Lego who don't take conventional racing lines because they don't really exist.
Yeah. No, they really don't.
Like, for example, they have the double right-hander. Normally, you'd like to take as much speed in for start on the exit, finish on the exit, but at that corner you start off the track and end up on the inside. Like, that's the best way around it.
And the final topic, where do you see yourself in the future for racing, whether it's near future or the distant future? Lyle?
W. I don't go tonight first.
Near
Alright.
future, winning more races. Distant future, dead.
Great!
Hey!
I mean, it's the truth.
Do you want me to say more?
And on that note,
Tom, how about you?
hey, I do sim racing, I don't do road racing. I have no opinion.
Good. I
Right.
guess I will say
So,
that I see myself just doing the same old. So, awesome.
So in the near future, I would like to win a second championship, essentially, and obviously get my league up and running as well. Can't wait to get that sorted. Distant future, I honestly don't know at the moment. Just, we'll see what happens.
Alright, fair enough. And I guess finally, how have you found the podcast today? Should it be continued?
Yes.
I
don't
think
fucking know.
if you guys want it to continue, spam I in the general.
No, don't spam I in
Okay,
the
don't
general.
spam,
That
just
is
type
against.
Or you could do it in
I
the actual chat of the
Or
video.
in the chat, yeah. It's just I think
Remember to
Exactly.
like and
oh
subscribe.
no, I've killed the general.
Remember to smash that like button.
Oh my god, you've broken the output. Right, well, we will end,
I guess that's your answer, Aldi.
we will end the podcast there. Thank you for people for actually watching it and I guess enjoying it. We may do some more of these in the future, but for the meantime, we shall end it off there.